Hi, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I've received from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers over the past 7 days. Remember, if you have any questions related to your diet, your training, or supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM them to me on my Instagram, which is fitcosgrove_. So let's get started with this week's first question on the No Filter Q&A. Question number 1. Hi, Nick. Can you explain which types of foods we should be consuming before our workouts and which types of foods we should be consuming after our workouts? I have been experimenting with different options, but can't seem to find a formula that works well for me. Yeah, there are certain foods that I do recommend people consume pre-workout, post-workout. Of course, this will depend on a few factors, one being what time of day you train at, whether you train early in the morning and whether you train late into the evening. Also, your metabolism, whether you digest food quickly or whether you digest food slowly. But a general rule of thumb is pre-workout. If you're going to eat food pre-workout, I usually recommend to have some complex carbohydrates and some lean proteins. So I usually recommend to stay away from fats before you work out or exercise. You have to remember, fats take a little bit longer for the body to digest. So generally, as a rule of thumb, I'll recommend to my clients to stay away from foods like eggs, peanut butter, avocado, salmon, just because those foods do take a little longer to digest. I would recommend saving those foods for after your workout. So a good pre-workout meal to me, I've always gone, if you're working out in the morning, I usually recommend to my clients a bowl of oatmeal, cream of rice, or some Ezekiel bread for your complex carbohydrates. And then for a good lean protein source, some whey isolate or egg whites. I find that's a really easy meal to digest for most people. If you're working out later on in the afternoon, half a cup of brown rice, some yams, sweet potatoes, quinoa for your complex carbohydrate source. And then a lean protein source would be something like chicken breast, cod, turkey breast, just something lean that's easy for the body to digest. You don't want to be working out and going through digestive issues on the floor. That's the last thing you want. Okay. And for post-workout, generally for post-workout, what I'll have a lot of people do is similar, but I'll add in some fats. So I'll usually give someone a little bit more higher protein on their post-workout meal, whether that's in a protein shake or if it's actual meal. If it's a meal, I'll recommend something, let's say ground turkey, lean ground turkey, of course, and then another complex carbohydrate, maybe some oatmeal, yam, sweet potato. And then I'll usually throw in some fats as well. Some cut up about half a cup of avocado, for example, a couple eggs. But that's generally a rule of thumb. What I recommend for pre and post workout meals is save the fats for after your workout, just because it takes the body a little longer to digest. Now, if you're working out early in the morning, because I have a few people, for example, who train with me at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., most of those people don't eat anything. And that's fine, especially if you eat late into the evening. If you're someone who has dinner around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, you don't need to eat right before your workout because that food is still digesting in your stomach. So a lot of people find when they work out early in the morning, they're fine going to the gym in a fasted state. And I have no issue with that whatsoever. But if you're training later on in the day, you probably do want to have at least a small meal before you come into the gym, especially if you've been up for 5 or 6 hours. And that's where I would recommend the complex carbohydrates and lean proteins. Pre-workout, post-workout, complex carbohydrates, lean protein, and add in a good healthy fat source. Okay, and that to me is going to be optimal nutrition, and that should be a good formula for you. You have to remember too, you have to find the foods that work well for your body though. So you might have to do a bit of trial and experiment here to see what works for you. But overall, that's what I would recommend. Lean protein and complex carbs pre-workout, lean protein, complex carb, healthy fats post-workout. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. I've hit a plateau with my shoulder workouts. I can't increase the weights anymore and seem to actually be getting weaker on a few exercises. Any tips on what I should do? It's never a good sign if you're getting weaker in the gym. Okay, that's not a good sign. That could be for multiple reasons. One might be that you're burnt out, you're overtraining the muscle. In that case, I'd recommend taking a few days off from the gym. Another reason could be that your nutrition's not in check. Maybe you've changed something in your diet. In that case, I would really look over your dietary nutrition plan and say, okay, where do I need to make changes? Maybe you need to add a little bit more complex carbohydrates in pre-workout. Maybe it's just increasing your overall caloric intake for the day as well. Now, when it comes to a particular muscle group, if you've stalled on increasing your weights, that's when I'll generally recommend to a lot of clients to switch up their routine and throw in some pre-exhaust techniques. So in this case, you're struggling with your shoulders. So most people, when they do a shoulder workout, for example, they like to start with, say, a shoulder press, whether that's a barbell military press or a dumbbell shoulder press. They usually start with a compound press. So in your case, because you've stalled on your shoulder workouts, what I would recommend is doing some pre-exhausting on your deltoids. Now that might involve doing some lateral raises, coming out lateral raises before you do some shoulder presses, or superset that even better. Do some lateral raises with some front dumbbell raises. Do that in conjunction with one another. It's a good idea to pre-exhaust the synergist muscle group, and then you can isolate the compound muscle group, right? I always find that's a really good way to hit a muscle that's plateaued. I had this problem a few months ago with my chest. I couldn't get my bench press up. So what I started to do was I would start to do dumbbell flies before I did my barbell bench press. And I did that for a few weeks. And what I found was, yes, I'd have to go a little bit lighter on my barbell bench press because I pre-exhausted my pecs doing dumbbell flies. But then once I switched up the routine again and went back to doing barbell presses before my dumbbell flies, my barbell bench press increased by about 15 pounds. So pre-exhausting technique is a great way if you're really trying to, if you hit a plateau with a muscle group, it works really well. So in the case of shoulders, if you're someone who does do shoulder presses first, I would save those presses towards the end of your workout and do some dumbbell lateral raises, dumbbell front raises, do some cable unilateral raises, do some rope upright rows, pre-exhaust everything else, and then go into your heavy compound lifts. And I guarantee you're going to have to go lighter for the next few weeks. But then once you switch back to your old routine where you start doing your compound lifts first, which most people will do, you're going to notice an increase in strength. Also, if you are overtrained, I do recommend taking 2 or 3 days off from the gym. In your case, it could even be a week, especially if your weights are going down. That's usually a sign that your body's overtrained. You need to give it some rest. I know it's hard if you're someone who's addicted to going to the gym, but I promise you're going to come back feeling much stronger and recovered, rested. So it's never a good sign if you're getting weaker in the gym. You've got to fix something. And like I said, that could be anything from your diet or just burnout, but maybe your lack of sleep. But you shouldn't be getting weaker in the gym. So that's something to be concerned about. And if you hit a plateau with a certain muscle group, throw in some pre-exhausting techniques. If you want to learn more about pre-exhausting techniques, you can always email me and I'll talk to you. I'll give you a little bit more detail about my online programs. I have a lot of programs that go over just pre-exhausting techniques with all the muscle groups. And I'm happy to send those to anyone free of charge. Okay, so any questions with that, feel free to email me, nick@foreverfitperformance.com. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. I'm a bit concerned about my son. He's 15 years old and addicted to the gym and counting all his macronutrients for the day. He's obsessed with putting on muscle. I'm worried that he's developing body image issues. Do you have any tips for teenagers that might be struggling with similar issues? Good question. Very good question. You're a teenager. You got to live your life. You got to enjoy your life. You can't be caught up on macronutrients and micronutrients and counting your calories and figuring out the best bodybuilding split. I mean, when you're 15 years old, you're going to grow regardless what you do. I remember when I was 15 years old, I mean, I didn't make the best gains, but I made pretty good, decent gains eating just Frosted Flakes and Cheerios and pizza and burgers. I did all that and I made great gains. I didn't make the best gains, but I made pretty good gains when I was a teenager at a diet like that. As I got older, I learned more about dietary nutrition and I cleaned up my diet and I made better gains. But when I was a teenager, you got to live your life a little bit. You got to have a little bit of fun and you can't get caught up too much on how you look because your body's going to change so much anyway. So I don't work with any teenagers. I think the youngest clients I work with are in their early 20s. But even then, I mean, you have to have fun when you're young and you can't get caught up on all the minute details about, oh, I didn't get my macronutrient daily allowance in, or I didn't count all my carbs in today. Don't worry about that. You've got lots of time to stress out about diet and training and supplementation as you get older. And even then, you really shouldn't make it your life. So if you're 15 years old and you're really that concerned, I would say take a few weeks off from the gym. There's more to life than the gym. Okay, the gym is just something that should be adding value to your life, but it shouldn't be your life. If it's your life, that's not good. I know guys who are my age who are obsessed about the gym, and you know what? They don't get anywhere in life. That's all they do is they work out, they eat, train, work out over and over again. That's it. Eat, train, sleep, eat, train, sleep. they're not running a business. They don't have a job that's providing any real good income. So yeah, I don't want to see anyone go down that route where they become obsessed. Bodybuilding, for example, is not a very lucrative sport. Very few people make money in that sport. It should be something that's a hobby only. You don't want to become obsessed with your physique. It's a dangerous route to go down. I promise it's not a route that you want to go down. So if you're a teenager, live your life. You've got lots of time to make those gains. And the best gains you're going to make, in my opinion, are going to be in your 20s anyway. So use this time right now to build a foundation. Have some fun with your diet. Keep your diet clean for the most part, but don't be afraid to have every once in a while, go out and have a pizza with your buddies or a burger and fries. That's okay. You can have that. If you want to have a little junk food here and there, have it. We don't want to demonize food. That's a bad idea, right? From the get-go, you want to have a healthy relationship with food. That's so important. So I'm telling you right now, if you're 15 years old and you're watching this right now, don't get obsessed with the gym. You've got lots of time. Enjoy your life. Eat, party responsibly, but enjoy it. You're only young once. And if I have any regrets, it's probably I probably started training too early and I cleaned up my diet too early. I probably should have had a little bit more fun with my diet when I was younger. Okay. But have fun with your diet for now. Don't stress about the macronutrients and micronutrients and calories. It's not important at this point. All right, next question. Nick, interested to know your thoughts on cheat days. My old trainer used to recommend I have an entire cheat day once a week, but I felt it always made me feel tired and lazy for a few days after. Do you recommend one big cheat meal or a few cheat meals, one big cheat day or a few cheat meals throughout the week? I do not recommend cheat days to anybody. I think cheat days are detrimental to your progress. Okay. Anyone who works with me knows that I recommend cheat meals. And for most people, that's 1 to 2 cheat meals a week. And again, that will depend on the individual I'm working with. I've mentioned that I work with a few people who their metabolisms are incredibly fast. So I have to give them like a cheat meal every day. But again, I never give anyone a cheat day. I give them a cheat meal. And that cheat meal, as I mentioned before on previous Q&As, I usually recommend having that cheat meal at the end of the day. Okay, not at the beginning of the day, because at the beginning of the day, you have something, let's say pancakes, for example, for breakfast, with syrup, you're going to be craving more sugar throughout the day. So I recommend having that cheat meal towards the end of the day. The problem with a cheat meal is that can throw off a whole week's worth of dieting, which you don't want to do. So I would strongly advise you to stay away from cheat days. And the reason why you're probably feeling tired and lethargic a few days after the cheat days, because if you're like most bodybuilders or people who train on a regular basis, your diet's probably fairly clean. So I always use the analogy, it's like if you have a really clean house and someone comes in and messes up your house is in disarray. Well, yeah, it's going to throw everything into chaos for a few days. So you got to clean up your house again. So think of your body like a clean house. With one cheat day, it's like a bomb went through your house and everything's a mess and you got to clean it all up again. So that's why I recommend sticking to one cheat meal. Keep it simple, something that digests easily. Have it towards the end of the day. You go to bed, you forget about it, and you get right back on your diet for the week ahead. Okay, that is honestly the best way to go when it comes to cheat meals. I do not advise anyone to have a cheat day. Okay, I really don't recommend that. I think that's actually just poor eating habits, and it's also old school train of thought from a lot of old school coaches. I'm not suggesting that your trainer or your coach was just old school train of thought type of person. However, I would not advise taking that recommendation from him or her. Stick to cheat meals, you'll get way better results. Okay, next question. Hi, Nick. My girlfriend thinks if she lifts too heavy that she's going to get too big. How do I convince her otherwise? Explain to your girlfriend that she has estrogen and lots of it. And because of that, she does not have the genetics or the ability to get big. Now, if she's a genetic freak, because there are a few genetic freaks out there, she might get big. But then again, that's not going to happen overnight. It's not like she's going to wake up one day and go, oh my God, I'm huge. You'll see the gradual progression and you might have to scale it back a bit. But I tell you what, I've been training women for the past 20 plus years, and I have not worked with a single female client who's natural who has ever gotten too big. That's never happened. And I have a lot of women I train and they squat heavy, they bench press heavy, and they're not big at all. they're very toned. Their muscles are toned. Their muscle bellies look great. They're defined, low body fat, look fantastic. But none of them are too big. Now, when you look at some of those women who compete on stage who are too big, most of those women, if not all of those women, are taking anabolic steroids. So it's very important that you understand that when you start training weights yourself. And if you don't understand that, then I recommend you educate yourself on anabolic steroid usage and also educate yourself on hormones. Because if you're a woman and your estrogen levels, yes, you're going to have a little bit of testosterone, but your estrogen levels are so high, you're not going to put on the same amount of muscle as a man will. Okay, that's not going to happen. Again, if you're a genetic freak, yeah, that could happen, but you're not going to wake up and look like The Rock. It's not going to happen. So if you're someone who puts on muscle quite easily, you can always scale it back. Although I wouldn't recommend going necessarily lighter on the weight. I would go with higher repetitions and do a little bit of circuit training. But again, I have never seen that in 20 plus years of working with women, any women get too big. So the whole idea of lifting heavy and getting big is a myth. I promise you it's not going to happen to you. And if it does happen to you, then you know your genetics and you know you put on that muscle so quickly. I would recommend doing some circuit training, keep the reps in that 15 to 20 rep range, and don't let your body rest. Just keep doing circuits, 3-4 rounds, 3 or 4 exercises together. That will keep everything, all the muscles, they'll grow, but they won't get overblown. But I haven't seen that in 20 years anyway, so I really wouldn't worry about it. And if you're a woman, in my opinion, you should be lifting as heavy and as intensely as you possibly can to create optimal gains in the gym. All right, next question. Nick, can a natural athlete follow the same diet as an enhanced athlete? For example, do you have your clients who are natural follow the same diet plans as your clients who use anabolic steroids? Yes, first of all, I don't have any of my clients follow the exact same diet plan. I typically like to stick with the same food groups, but as far as the macronutrient allowance, that changes completely whether I'm working with man, woman, someone who's looking to gain weight, lose weight, competitor, non-competitor. As far as the anabolics are concerned, though, that's actually not a factor I take into consideration whatsoever. No, if someone's using fat burners, they're probably dieting for a show anyway. So I'll keep them on lower carbs, maybe moderate fats and higher protein. But regardless if someone's on fat burners or not, or anabolic steroids or not, the macronutrients pretty much stay the same. I base the diet changes based on the individual I'm working with. And that depends on their genetics, right? Their level of how long they've been trained, their level of fitness, right? How long are they someone who's new to the gym? Are they someone who's been training for years? So the anabolics don't change the diet at all. No. If anything, sometimes what I'll do with someone who is a natural athlete, if they're trying to put on muscle, I might actually have to feed them a little bit more food than someone who's using anabolic steroids, because with the anabolic steroids, it's obviously going to be a little bit easier to put on the muscle mass. But for the most part, when it comes to dieting, no, I'll keep the macros pretty much the same. And where the changes happen will be based on the individual. But whether someone is enhanced versus someone who is natural, really not much changes when it comes to the dietary component of the training. Same with the workouts. I keep the workouts the same as well. The anabolic steroids, in my opinion, should only be used if someone is competing in a fitness competition. Otherwise, I see no reason to use them. And again, that's a personal choice that someone has to make. And I recommend making that choice based on educating yourself on anabolic steroid usage and deciding whether or not you want to go down that route. Just remember, though, once you go down that route, you've made that decision to put a foreign substance into your body. So you have to take responsibility for that, nobody else. So that's why I always tell clients who are deciding to go down that route, educate yourselves, and then you make that decision as a responsible adult. Okay, nobody else can make that decision for you. But when it comes to dietary nutrition, I've never really taken into consideration whether someone's on steroids or not. The diet, the premise of the diet, the baseline of the diet remains the same. And where I make the changes and modifications along the way is based on the results, based on the genetics, and based on the level of fitness that person is at. All right, next question. Nick, what exercises would you give to a female client who wants to build a bigger butt? I'm currently doing Smith machine squats, hack squats, leg press, and leg extensions for my lower body workouts. Thanks so much. Loving your Q&As. Um, okay, so what I'm seeing from this particular workout is that you're doing primarily a quad-based workout. I don't really see, and I'm seeing a lot of machine work. So I don't see, for example, I don't see any hamstring work. I don't see any hamstring curls, straight leg hamstring deadlifts in that program. I'm not seeing any walking lunges. And one of the main exercises that you seem to be missing from that workout are hip thrusts. Barbell hip thrusts are great for bringing up your glutes. And I would switch the Smith machine squats for some old school barbell squats. In my opinion, there's no exercise that's going to be better than an old school barbell back squat. I don't care about all these machines. These Smith machines are these new pliolateral machines that are coming on the market. I don't care. The barbell back squat's tried and true. We know it works. It brings out the gluteus maximus, minimus. And also don't forget too, when you're squatting, you're using like free weight squats, you're using your stabilizers. So you're going to work your hamstrings and your glutes in conjunction with your quadriceps. Right. So this workout that you're doing with leg press and hack squats, those are great exercises. I'd still leave them in, but I would add in some more variety to that workout. So if you're trying to bring up your glutes, I like to do a lot of step ups and side shuffle combinations on a high bench. I find that's a really good way to bring in your gluteus maximus. I'll have clients do barbell hip thrusts, as I mentioned. That's another good exercise. And believe it or not, walking lunges are another great exercise to help bring the glutes. A lot of people think lunges are just quad dominant. Yeah, you're going to use your quads, but you're also, especially when you're pushing up through the center of that foot, center of your heel as well, you're activating that glute. And when you do walking lunges, there's so many different types of lunges you can do. You can do alternating lunges, you can do drag lunges to the left, drag lunges to the right, double contractions, static contractions, spider lunges. There's so many different types that involve all the lower body muscle groups that you're going to work your glutes. So I would add more variety to a workout like that, but I would definitely throw in some barbell hip thrusts, and don't be afraid to go heavy on those barbell hip thrusts, but just try to keep those reps between that 12 to 15, even 20 rep range if you can. Okay. You want to really challenge the muscle group too. And that would definitely help the glutes grow. Another thing you could do is when you're doing your cardio is, I don't know if you're what type of cardio you're doing, but adding maybe 20, 30 minutes every few workouts to the step mill. I find that's also a good way to help bring up the glutes. Okay, but when it comes to exercise selection, old school barbell squats, so I would take out those Smith machine squats and I would throw in some barbell hip thrusts. All right. Next question. Nick, what's your opinion on sports drinks such as Gatorade and Powerade? Are they okay to have during your workout? Absolutely not. I hate Powerade. I hate Gatorade. I think they're garbage. Full of sugar, full of carbs, not necessary. I've been saying this for years. The claim is, well, electrolytes. Look, if you want electrolytes, just take electrolytes. There's no reason to take all the added sugar from a Powerade or Gatorade. Now, they do have the Gatorade and Zero or the Powerade Zero. I've seen those on the market now. Sure, have them if you want. I wouldn't though. If you're looking for electrolytes, you can just actually go into a pharmacy and buy electrolytes and put them in your water. There's no reason to have the sugar and the carbs. You don't need them. Also, a lot of the BCA powders on the market now have electrolytes in them. So there you go. In those BCA powders, a lot of them are mixed with no artificial flavors whatsoever. So that to me is a much healthier choice than having the Powerade and Gatorade, which is loaded with sugar and loaded with carbs. So I would stay far away with that, especially if you're trying to lose weight. I see this all the time. I see people chugging down a regular Gatorade or Powerade in the gym when they're on the treadmill running. I'm like, what are you doing? Here you are at the gym, obviously trying to lose weight, and you're having a Gatorade as you chug that down in between rest periods. That to me seems completely idiotic. So as far as sports drinks are concerned, I would stay far away from them. I wouldn't even bother with the Powerade Zero or the Gatorade Zero. I would just, again, if your reason for consuming them is the electrolytes, I would just add electrolytes to your water. And then you have to wonder, what are you using the electrolytes for? Are you cramping? A lot of people, they don't even know why they're drinking these drinks. They just drink them because they see athletes drink them. The only time I recommend electrolytes to my clients is if I notice they're cramping on the floor. You know, a lot of times when I'm working with someone and they're doing legs, their quadriceps start to cramp, or if they're doing abdominal work, their quadriceps start to cramp quite easily. And to me, that's usually a sodium issue or a dehydration issue. And in that case, I will recommend electrolytes. But unless you're having those issues, there's no reason for you to be even playing with electrolytes, and not at all. Just you should be getting away. Like I've always found just a liter of water works great for me during my workouts. I stay hydrated throughout the day and I have no problem with cramping. If it's a potassium issue, you could also add in some potassium or have a banana pre-workout. But as far as Powerades and Gatorades or any other sports drinks that are out there now, in my opinion, pure garbage, stay away from them as far as you can. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. I like to have a few drinks 2 to 3 times a week after work. How much of an impact will this have on my results in the gym? Just water, I swear. Yeah. Okay. So with alcohol, I've talked about alcohol. I've covered alcohol a few times. I'm not against alcohol. I understand people like to go out and be social and have a drink now and then. I have no problem with alcohol whatsoever. My problem with having alcohol on a regular basis in excess amounts is, okay, let's take the calories and the sugar away for 1 second. It's the way you feel the day after. So I'll have, for example, on Saturday, I have a few group classes, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there are people who come to my group classes who are obviously quite hungover, sometimes still intoxicated, and it really affects their workouts. Either they can't lift as heavy, they can't train as intensely, they have to take more rest periods in between sets. Sometimes they have to run to the washroom and they're gone for a few minutes, and that's because they're hungover. The alcohol is leaving their system and it doesn't do well for their training the next day. So that impacts the results because you can't train as intensely, you can't train as heavy. So right there, that's going to impact your workout, which of course is going to impact your results. Now, if we were to think about how much calories and how much sugar is in alcohol, it is quite high. So I mentioned this on another episode a few weeks ago with alcohol, and I talked about the different types of alcohol to consume if you are trying to watch your weight and you are trying to look after your health. And, I mentioned staying with drinks with, for example, gin and soda, vodka soda, sticking with the low sugar drinks. You don't want to have a cocktail, even, a thing of what I like, scotch, 2-ounce pour of scotch, that's fairly low in sugar. You have to watch the high caloric drinks, like I mentioned, the cocktails and all those fancy drinks that people do, and the wines for sugar, the coolers, those you want to stay away from because those are usually loaded with calories and sugar. But if you're having, let's say 2-3 drinks a week, I personally don't think that's going to have an impact on your results whatsoever. What I do recommend, though, to my clients who do like to have drinks is actually try to have, at least if you're going to drink, say, twice a week, try to put them around days that you're not working out the next day. So at least then, you're not wasting a workout. Because I have people that come into the gym and I can tell they're hungover and I can see it right away, and it really affects the impact, the workouts. They're not training nearly as intensely as they would if they were coming in with a good night's sleep, a good breakfast, or a good lunch pre-workout. So that's where it impacts your results. But if you are going to drink, like I said, stick to the drinks that I recommend. That shouldn't be a problem because at least you're going to save on the calories and the sugar. Stay away from the cocktails, stay away from the wines, the coolers, stick to the clear drinks if you can. You don't want to be adding, say, rum and Coke, for example. Not a good combination. You want to stay away from the pop drinks, all bad stuff. But yeah, enjoy your life. I see nothing wrong with having 2-3 drinks a week. Just keep it in moderation and it shouldn't really have any impact on your results whatsoever. All right, last question. Hi, Nick. I'm curious if you're ever tempted to correct people in the gym who are not your clients doing exercises wrong. I'm a trainer myself, and it drives me insane when I see people doing an exercise incorrectly. It actually annoys me sometimes. Look, I never like to offer unsolicited advice. If someone's not asking me for my advice or paying me for my advice, why the hell would I give it? They haven't hired me as their trainer. If they feel comfortable enough to go to the gym and do something on their own, great, do it. Even if I think what they're doing is going to lead to an injury, unless it's going to lead to a serious injury where they're going to risk possible like dislocation or death, I'm not going to interrupt them. No. I have seen people do some pretty kooky things in the gym. And again, I just say, well, if they don't want to work with a professional and they want to learn on their own, let them. That's fine. A lot of people think just going to the gym, they can look at a few videos on YouTube and just copy what the person on YouTube does and apply it to the gym. I've seen people bring their phones in the gym and try to follow workouts that they're doing. To me, it's just silly. You're wasting your time. If it were me, I would always think about, okay, well, if I want to get the most out of my workouts, what should I do? And if I can't afford a trainer to work with me every time I go into the gym, maybe I would benefit from working for hiring a trainer just for at least 6 sessions, just to teach me the fundamentals about going to the gym, the basics, the barbell bench press, barbell squats, barbell deadlifts, teach me how to use the cable machines, lat pull down, seated row. You don't have to work with a trainer you don't have to make a long-term commitment, but I would recommend that everyone, especially if you're new to the gym, you do book a session with a trainer. That can make a huge difference as to whether or not you're going to become successful in the gym with your physique, right? And also you want to avoid injury. And you also want to avoid looking silly and stupid in the gym, because there are a lot of people in the gym when I'm watching them do things, I'm like, it just looks silly doing them. And I don't want to embarrass anybody, so I don't go up and correct them. But if I see someone doing something that looks like they're going to really injure themselves, then yes, I will stop them and I'll say, look, you're going to hurt yourself. Let me just show you something. That has happened on occasion, but it doesn't annoy me because I think they're not my client. So I kind of just ignore it. And again, I work at a private facility, so I don't really see that as often. But back in the day when I would go to commercial gyms, I'd see it all the time. And it wouldn't annoy me because I would just say, you know what, let them learn. And unfortunately, some people do learn the hard way and they injure themselves. But I don't think it should annoy you. I mean, if you're with your client, you should be focusing on your client, not what other people are doing. So no, it doesn't annoy me, and no, I don't correct them. I think it's only happened maybe once or twice in the entire times I've been training in commercial gyms where I've had to stop someone because they're going to either they put too much weight on the bar, they've loaded the weight wrong, and they're going to break their shoulder, they're going to dislocate their shoulder, or they're going to break their back or something. I got to stop them. But for the most part, no, I'm not going to offer unsolicited advice. If it's unwarranted, I'm not going to give it. Okay. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's Q&A. This should be going up on Thursday evening, Thursday, March 31st. Remember, if you do have any questions related to diet, training, or supplementation, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com. You can also DM me on fitcosgrove_. Also, as a reminder, we do have an online application with a separate Q&A that we offer each week, and that Q&A goes out on Tuesday afternoon. If you're interested in learning more about our online application, you can email me, or you can also email Mia, our office administrator, at mia@foreverfitperformance.com, and we're happy to send you over some information on our online training application. That online training application, you're going to receive all my diets and all my training programs, my supplement plans that I've been designing for the past 15 plus years. You'll have access to that. And I always put up a new diet, new training program on a weekly basis with training videos as well. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please feel free to email either myself or Mia anytime. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Have a great evening, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.